What are Bradley fighting vehicles? U.S. kit Ukraine has high hopes for. President Joe Biden confirmed during a visit to Hebron, Kentucky, that the U.S. was considering sending Bradley fighting vehicles to Ukraine, after he was asked whether it was a possibility. Answering with a simple "oh yes," Biden did not offer any further information on a possible timescale nor on how many of the armored vehicles could be supplied to Ukrainian forces. The U.S. Army has been using Bradleys for decades, and the White House was mulling sending Kyiv the combat vehicle ahead of the new year, Bloomberg reported on December 29. At the time, anonymous sources said a decision was still unconfirmed. Kyrylo Budanov, Ukraine's head of military intelligence, said in an interview with ABC News that Kyiv was waiting for the Bradleys to be sent. He was then quoted in a press release published by the Ukrainian government as saying that the delivery of the armored vehicles would significantly improve the combat ability of our units, and he had high hopes for them. Switching from English to Ukrainian in the interview to appeal to U.S. citizens, he said it will not take too long now, and every taxpayer in the U.S. will be able to see where every cent went. We will change this world together. On Wednesday, the French government announced it would be sending armored combat vehicles to Ukraine. President Emmanuel Macron's office said France would supply Kyiv with AMX-10 RC light armored fighting vehicles, with one official saying it would be the first time that Western-made armored vehicles are being delivered in support of the Ukrainian army. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked the Élysée Palace following a phone call with Macron, writing on Twitter that he was grateful for the decision to transfer light tanks and Bastion APCs to Ukraine, as well as for intensifying work with partners in the same direction. Retired Colonel Hamish de Breton Gordon, who has commanded UK and NATO chemical, biological, radiological and nuclear defense (CBRN) forces, told Newsweek sending armored vehicles like Bradleys would certainly help the Ukrainians, notably in Crimea. He suggested it could be a move that escalates the conflict, but argued Russia's scope for further escalation was limited. What are Bradley fighting vehicles? Bradley fighting vehicles are capable of carrying several military personnel and are equipped with a powerful gun. However, they are smaller than the Abrams tanks the U.S. has so far declined to send to Ukraine. Bradleys are hailed as an integral part of the U.S. Army's Armored Brigade Combat Team by BAE Systems, which produces the armored vehicles. According to the manufacturers, Bradleys possess outstanding survivability, mobility, and lethality. Former White House defense analyst Mark Kanchan told Bloomberg in December that Bradleys would provide a major increase in ground combat capability because it is, in effect, a light tank. He argued that the U.S. had enough Bradleys to be able to supply Ukraine without any issues, noting that some vehicles would be older and require upgrades. Bradleys would nonetheless be an asset to the Ukrainians, boasting 25mm guns and TOW anti-tank missiles, he continued. On December 21, the Department of Defense announced that the U.S. would send a further $1.85 billion to Ukraine in an aid package, including a Patriot air defense system and munitions. Below we present to your attention the comments of users. User with nickname ACRGHS1971 just read a USA Today article titled, "Ukraine dismisses Putin's holiday ceasefire order, U.S. to send Bradley vehicles to Ukraine, updates." In this article, Germany will contribute 30 drone detection systems, 20 rocket launchers, 63 pickups, 12 heavy-duty trucks, generators, and 36,400 wool blankets. The article also went on to say that the U.S. would send several dozen Bradleys to Ukraine and Germany would provide some of its Marder infantry fighting vehicles plus training. The Bradleys and Marders tell me that the number of mechanized infantry battalions is going to increase dramatically. The existing Ukraine IFVs will also be used. These Bradleys and Marders are going to wreak havoc on Russia, especially in Crimea, where a recent Ukraine Air Force strike in Crimea destroyed a lot of Russian air defense and missile systems. When Ukraine clears out Kherson and gets a foothold in Crimea, Ukraine can sit back at a distance with HIMARS and 777 Excaliburs and walk through Crimea. User with nickname Henry D. I'm hoping that another piece of military hardware will be added to Ukraine's arsenal, the A-10 Warthog aircraft. Heavily armed and armored, it can wreak havoc on tanks, missile batteries, artillery, support columns, and infantry units. User with nickname Tony Cush, we have extra Bradleys. Why let them sit? Let Ukraine further destroy the Russian army. Should send some to Taiwan also. User with nickname Dan, thousands. We have thousands of extras. Give them 500 instead of 50. User with nickname Radical Centrist, Bradleys were a vast improvement over the VN-era M113s, but like anything else, they have aged. I agree with Dan Crenshaw, Republican Texas, that using U.S. tax dollars to defeat the Russians without any loss of U.S. serviceman is a win-win. Unfortunately, when cons are given the actual opportunity to kill communists, they fold like cheap suits.